There are two kinds of people in this world: the ones who make noise trying to win, and the ones who build in silence a force so consistent that the result becomes inevitable. Because the difference between rich and poor is rarely what you can see. It's not just waking up early, it's not just working hard, it's not just getting lucky. The real difference lives where almost nobody pays attention, what you do when nobody is watching. The silent habits. The invisible practices that look small, almost irrelevant, until they repeat. And repetition shapes the mind. The mind shapes the choices, and the choices shape your financial destiny. This is where Napoleon Hill enters the room. Hill spent years studying people who built wealth from nothing, and the pattern was never only external. The pattern was internal, a disciplined way of thinking, emotional control, a kind of self-mastery that doesn't depend on motivation, it depends on decision. And I'm going to tell you something that might bother you, but it will set you free. If you don't train these silent habits, you might make money once, but you won't sustain it. You won't multiply it. You won't make it your normal, because wealth is not an event. It's an identity you can hold. Most people try to change their life with big, rare actions. A burst of effort, a short season of obsession, a dramatic remake. But life changes for real through small actions, repeated. That's the law of repetition, and Hill understood it deeply. Daily consistency creates disproportionate results, like water tapping a stone. It looks like nothing, until the stone finally gives. And the wealthy do it quietly. They think in silence. They read in silence. They observe in silence. They plan in silence. They meditate in silence. They visualize in silence. They affirm in silence. And this silence isn't emptiness. It's presence. It's inner government. It's the moment you stop being dragged by the world and start driving your own mind. Want a clear sign why your financial life may feel stuck? Look at your day. What fills your mind when you're not working? Noise, comparison, worry, distraction. Because when the mind is full of noise, it can't produce clarity. And without clarity, your decisions become expensive. Here's the line that separates levels. Poverty is a mind without direction. Repeated. Wealth is a mind with direction. Repeated. So today, you're not getting a motivational list. You're receiving a protocol, a training, a path. The 7 silent habits that build inner direction, until your outer results have no choice but to follow. If you're ready to cut the noise and choose inner government, comment, "I choose silence." There's a mistake that looks harmless, but it costs fortunes. Believing your problem is only lack of money. In most cases, the real problem is lack of inner silence. Because when the mind lives in noise, it loses 3 things Napoleon Hill considered sacred for becoming wealthy: clarity, decision, and persistence. Without those 3 pillars, you can work hard and still feel like your effort turns into sand, slipping through your fingers. Mental noise is that state where you spend your day reacting to bills, reacting to comparisons, reacting to your boss's mood, reacting to headlines, reacting to the fear of what if it doesn't work. And a reactive mind doesn't govern destiny, it only survives. Hill noticed something most people don't want to admit. Poverty often isn't the absence of work. It's the presence of indecision. Indecision is a silent poison. You start something, then stop. You adjust, then retreat. You create, then abandon. You plan, then procrastinate. And with every cycle, your subconscious learns one dangerous sentence: "I don't finish." That sentence kills prosperity before it's even born. Why does it happen? Because noise steals your mental energy. Your attention gets spent on things that don't build, looping worries, internal arguments, guilt, urgency, distraction, people pulling your direction. It's like trying to get rich with an open safe. It doesn't matter how much goes in. It leaks. Here's the diagnosis few people accept. You may not be broke in money. You may be broke in focus. And focus is the invisible currency of wealth. The wealthy have a difference nobody films. They can remain. Remain in the right thinking. Remain in the plan. Remain in discipline. Remain in building even when nobody claps. But a mind trained in scarcity not out of evil but out of conditioning, lives oscillating. One day it wants it, the next day it doubts. One day it believes, the next day it sabotages. One day it's inspired, the next day it's distracted. And that oscillation becomes a lifestyle, unstable, anxious, unpredictable. That's why I call these silent habits silent, not because they're weak, but because they reprogram the axis. They quiet the excess. They stop your subconscious from dragging you into small decisions. And here's a simple truth with power. It's not lack of capability. It's excess noise. When you cut the noise, your intelligence returns, your courage returns, your vision returns. And this is where the game flips, because wealth begins when you start asking a different question. What invisible habit do I need to install so my future stops depending on my mood? If you want scripts that don't just entertain you, they train you, subscribe to Wealth Rewired. Because here we don't feed anxiety, we build discipline, clarity, and prosperity as identity. Now comes the shift most people don't want to hear, because it places power back in your hands. Napoleon Hill didn't build his life's work on luck, he built it on law. And one of the most unforgiving laws he observed in high achievers is this: life does not reward occasional intensity. It rewards directed repetition. You can have one brilliant day and 6 scattered days and still stay in the same place. You can make one huge effort this month and spend the rest of the year putting out fires and still never break through. Why? Because your subconscious isn't educated by events. It's educated by patterns. Hill called this autosuggestion. Whatever you repeat with consistency, you impress upon the mind, and the mind begins to obey as if it's true. But most people use that mechanism against themselves. They repeat fear, they repeat delay, they repeat excuses, they repeat it won't work, they repeat comparison. Then wonder why life feels small. Here's the breakthrough. Silent habits are autosuggestion in the form of behavior. It's not only what you say, it's what you practice, and what you practice daily becomes identity. This is one of the secrets Hill recognized in wealthy people. They don't rely on willpower every hour of the day. They build rails. They create internal routines that keep the mind on track, even when the day tries to pull it off. That's real prosperity, when external chaos can't hijack internal government. And the beauty of this law is simple. If small repeated actions create big results, then you don't need to change your entire life today. You need to change what you repeat. That's why these habits are silent, because they happen where destiny is manufactured, inside you. You think in silence, you clarify. You read in silence, you expand. You observe in silence, you correct. You plan in silence, you aim. You meditate in silence, you stabilize. You visualize in silence, you program. You affirm in silence, you install. Each one touches a different gear. And when the gears shift, the outcome shifts. Hill also tied all of this to one word that changes everything: decision. The opposite of poverty isn't wealth, it's decision. Because indecision creates a fragmented life. You start, stop, return, detour, restart. But decision creates alignment. You choose, repeat, improve, persist. And when you repeat with direction, something powerful is born. Personal power. A confidence that doesn't come from hoping, but from watching yourself show up daily. There's an ancient line that fits perfectly here. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. The heart in this sense is the center of habit and belief. What you repeat in that center defines you. So the metaphysical shift is this: you are not trying to get rich, you are training a mind that produces wealth as a consequence. And that doesn't require noise, it requires consistency. If this unlocked the shift for you, comment, "I choose repetition." In the next minutes, I'm going to give you something practical. How to install these 7 silent habits in 30 days without destroying your routine. Simple, clean, and consistent. Because now we stop turning this into information and we turn it into installation. Napoleon Hill would say, understanding is not enough. Your subconscious doesn't change because you learned something. It changes because you repeated something. And repetition works best when it's simple. So here's the 30-day protocol to build a mind that produces wealth. And the first key is this: you won't do it perfectly. You'll do it daily. To make this easy, you split the habits into 2 zones, morning and night, all in silence. No announcements, no performance, no explaining, because it works best when it's between you and your mind. Morning, before your phone. 1. Plan in silence. Write 3 lines. What matters most today? Which action builds income or competence today? What will I not allow to distract me? This creates direction, and direction is authority. 2. Affirm in silence. Choose 5 affirmations. Say each one 3 times. I act with clarity and firmness. I deserve to prosper and sustain it. I am disciplined and consistent. I recognize opportunities and honor them. My mind works in my favor, not to sound nice, to install identity. 3. Visualize in silence. See yourself executing the main action of the day with calm precision, not luxury, execution. See you moving like a prosperous person moves, steady, focused, clean. CTA, intéressant. If this morning protocol already gave you direction, comment, I'm understanding. 4. Read in silence. 1 simple rule, 1 book per month on finance, business, sales, psychology, or mindset. Hill taught specialized knowledge is invisible wealth. You read to improve decisions, not to kill time. Night before sleep. 1. Meditate in silence. The goal is to reduce noise and recover inner government. You don't have to empty your mind, just return to center. Breathe, observe, let thoughts pass. Anxiety weakens good decisions. Calm strengthens them. 2. Think in silence. Ask 1 deep question per night. How would I raise my income intelligently? What skill must I master? What decision am I avoiding? Who must I become to hold the next level? Write down 1 idea. Just 1. 1 idea becomes a fortune when it becomes action. 3. Observe in silence. In your notes, answer, what pattern did I repeat today? What habit moved me closer? What impulse must I master? This creates self-awareness, and self-awareness kills sabotage. If this resonates, comment, I align with this. Now listen carefully, because this is where most people fail. Even with a perfect plan, they try to install all 7 habits at once, and then they quit. Not because they're weak, because they overloaded the system. So here's how you do it the wealthy way: gradual, consistent, inevitable. Pick 1 habit in the morning and 1 habit at night. Do them without missing for 14 days. No drama, no excuses, no, I'll do double tomorrow. Just clean repetition. When those 2 habits feel automatic, add 2 more. Repeat the cycle. That's the essence of Napoleon Hill. Growth by repetition, not growth by emotional explosion. Because the goal isn't to have a perfect week, it's to build a permanent identity. And this leads us to the most decisive word of all: identity. Some people collect techniques and stay stuck. Others change the kind of person they are, and their finances follow. Hill hammered this truth in different ways. The external world obeys your dominant mental state, and your dominant mental state isn't created by 1 video. It's created by what you repeat until it becomes normal. Here's the difference. A scarcity pattern says, when I feel motivated, I'll do it. A wealth pattern says, I do it because it's who I am. The 7 silent habits aren't chores, they're signatures. They are daily signals you send to your subconscious. I am someone who governs my mind. I'm someone who builds consistently. I'm someone who doesn't live in reaction. And when your subconscious accepts that, it stops sabotaging you. So the brutal, simple identity swap looks like this. I try becomes I sustain. I start becomes I finish. I want becomes I decide. I dream becomes I execute. No applause, no spotlight, no one claps for it. But this is exactly where wealth is born. That's why the real question isn't which habit should I do. It's who must I become for this to feel natural. So I'm giving you a short identity seal to carry for 30 days. I am a disciplined mind. Say it before you do your habits, because you're not just going to meditate, You're practicing as a disciplined mind. You're not just going to read, you're acting as a disciplined mind. You're not just going to plan, you're living as a disciplined mind. And when you move like that, the habit stops feeling like effort and becomes coherence. If this hit you, comment, "I become." Now we build the bridge that separates pretty mindset from real results, because silence without action becomes comfort, and action without silence becomes rush. Napoleon Hill taught that wealth is born when a defined mind turns an idea into a plan, and a plan into persistent execution. So here's the integration. The 7 silent habits aren't the finish line. They are the invisible engine that powers your practical life. And this becomes 3 simple movements. 1. Silence creates clarity. Clarity chooses the right action. When you think, observe, and meditate, you stop living on autopilot. And then something happens that changes the game. You identify the highest impact action, not 20 tasks, one direction. The wealthy daily question is, what action today increases my competence or my income? It might be making an offer, learning a skill that sells, creating content, calling a client, organizing your finances, cutting a cost that quietly bleeds you. A silent mind doesn't get lost in motion. It finds the target. CTA, intéressant. If you feel that truth, comment, "I see the target." 2. Silence becomes strategy. Strategy becomes consistency. Planning in silence builds rails, so your day doesn't depend on your mood. You don't need constant willpower to win. You need an intelligent schedule. Here's a practical rule. Every day needs a wealth-building block. Even if it's 30 minutes. Wealth isn't what you do when time is left over. It's what you protect as priority. And when you protect that block, you stop living by reaction and start living by design. 3. Silence becomes identity. Identity sustains persistence. Here's the most material secret. Most people quit too early, not because they lack ability, but because they lack identity. When you affirm and visualize correctly, you train the subconscious to tolerate the process. Persistence stops feeling like suffering and becomes standard. Hill would say persistence is the final test. The 7 habits are training for that test. So the formula becomes simple. Clarity plus plan plus daily action, growing income. And silence is what keeps that formula alive. The day you stop depending on mood, you start becoming unstoppable. Because what used to be hard becomes normal. And that's why these habits are not about appearing productive. They are about ruling your inner world until your outer world has no choice but to follow. If this aligns you, comment, "I build daily." Now I want you to understand what just happened here. You didn't receive tips. You received a map of transformation. Because the 7 silent habits aren't about looking productive. They're about governing your internal world until your external world is forced to match it. And Napoleon Hill would put this on the table without softening it. Your financial life will always obey your dominant mental pattern, not your Sunday desire, not your temporary excitement, but what you repeat when nobody sees. So before we seal this with a short guided inner practice, I want to hammer the 7 habits into your mind, 1 line each, like quiet drills that build a new foundation. Think in silence, so your decisions cost less and return more. Read in silence, so you gain specialized knowledge and wider vision. Observe in silence, so you catch sabotage before it becomes a cycle. Plan in silence, so your day stops depending on your mood. Meditate in silence, so your mind stabilizes and your choices improve. Visualize in silence, so your subconscious gets programmed with direction. Affirm in silence, so identity, courage, and persistence get installed. Breathe, because from here, it's no longer about understanding, it's about assuming. Now I'm going to guide you through a very short inner practice called I Become, not to relax you, to align you. Close your eyes for a few seconds. Inhale and release slowly. Picture yourself tomorrow morning in silence, writing your plan. Feel the steadiness. You are not rushing, you are driving. Now see yourself reading, not for entertainment, but for expansion. Your brain making space, your mind becoming larger than old limitations. Now see yourself observing your patterns with honesty. You notice an old impulse, and you choose differently. And that different choice becomes the beginning of a different life. Now see yourself meditating, the noise dropping, the anxiety shrinking, and in its place one clarity. Now see yourself visualizing your financial goal, but not as fantasy. See execution, see focus. See you doing what must be done consistently. And finally, hear yourself affirm, firmly on the inside, I am a disciplined mind. As you say it, feel your spine straighten, like something inside you becomes upright again. Take one more breath. Now open your eyes. You just rehearsed your new pattern. And what you rehearse, you become if you repeat it. If this sealed something inside you, comment, I choose discipline. Now we seal it, not with hype, with authority, because the world respects the person who respects themselves in silence. Here is your final decree, not as poetry but as a contract. Final decree, the quiet wealth mind. I decree that my silence is fertile. I decree that my mind is disciplined and obedient to my purpose. I decree that I think with clarity and decide with firmness. I decree that I read, I learn, and I apply. I decree that I observe my patterns and change what must be changed. I decree that I plan and execute with consistency. I decree that I meditate and return to my center. I decree that I visualize with faith and act with strategy. I decree that I affirm a new identity. I sustain what I start. I decree that my financial life rises because my inner standard has risen. I decree that wealth is the consequence of my inner government. And now say this and mean it. My mind is renewed and my next level has already begun. Because it has. The moment you change what you repeat, you change what you collect, you change what you tolerate, you change what you attract, you change what you become. So here's the simple, decisive step. Choose one habit to start today, and tomorrow add another. No noise, no announcement, no anxiety, just repetition. Because the wealthy don't build in public first, they build in private until the results become undeniable. If you're committing to this quietly, comment, I build in silence. And to keep your mind on the rails, subscribe to Wealth Rewired and turn on notifications. This is a series of inner construction, and your future will thank you for staying in an environment that trains your focus, your discipline, and your prosperity. Remember, silence is not absence. Silence is control. Silence is power, and power repeated becomes wealth.